cat glasses. In a sense, and at first glance, there's nothing particularly special about this photograph. There's no striking punctum. However, it has a story that deserves to be told if we want to understand the photography we're talking about. This photography is known as street photography, but in fact consists of photographing people in their social environment and, when possible, if possible, in unique settings, in distinctive clubs that are sometimes difficult to access, but which hide other faces of human nature. We are in the realm of sociological reporting without pretension or prejudice, documenting everyday life, including the magical moments that fashion encounters can provide. Paris Fashion Week in 2015. SS16 for spring-summer. What's fun and challenging is that the locations of the presentations are kept secret, and access is by invitation or guest list only. However, most of the shows take place in the central districts of Paris. What's more, the week's schedule is packed, and fashion columnists, fashionistas, and enthusiasts often walk from place to place to save time. So, basically, by observing where the most stylish people are heading and keeping a sharp eye out, it is possible to spot the temples of fashion design. There are also some great classics, such as the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. That's where we are, at the Beaux-Arts, probably in the glass courtyard or another room, but all the surfaces have been covered with white panels at the designer's request. In a few minutes, the show by renowned fashion designer Hussein Chalayan will begin. I have chosen to comment on this seemingly mundane image, not because it is visually extraordinary, but rather because of what it cost me and its story. I had decided that I would manage to take photographs during Fashion Week. A fascinating, distinctive, closed, almost inaccessible Parisian event. What's more, I had a friend in the fashion industry who invariably refused to invite me to the shows, which stung my pride and strengthened my motivation to succeed at all costs. My plan was to arrive on the scene with a camera, of course, to appear stressed and overwhelmed, as fashion people often are, and to push my way through security. In fact, it worked very well. All you have to do is pretend to be on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I even allowed myself the luxury of wandering around the space, ignoring the photographer's area, where the pros are confined to a few square meters. Moments after this photograph was taken, the show's manager spotted me and asked, "Who are you? What do you do?" To which I replied, lying like a dentist, that I was taking pictures for Elle Belgium magazine. Surprisingly, that answer was enough for him, and he didn't ask me any more questions. These moments are extraordinary adrenaline rushes. No one wants to suffer the humiliation of being thrown out like a piece of rubbish by security a few minutes before the magic of a fashion show. The photo documents the kind of audience at these events. For many of the spectators in the front rows, it is important to be the center of attention. Quite naively, this spectator's rainbow cat-eye glasses caught my eye. I found it interesting to show the quirky and cheerful glamour of certain personalities. The attention of the photographers is appreciated by this pretty woman and rewarded with meaningful glances. Exchanging glances is part of documentary photography and must be handled with diplomacy, modesty, and without excess. In other words, it is sometimes necessary to look at strangers. You can thank them with a modest smile when they have graciously allowed themselves to be photographed. But it's better to move on quickly, to avoid your photographic interest being interpreted as personal interest. If you look at the image closely, you will notice that it shows multiple people whose gazes are pointing in all directions. There's a man staring into space. A woman on the right, her eyes fixed on the floor, seems to be looking inward. And then there is our protagonist, whose stylish appearance, jewelry, and slightly extravagant glasses set her apart. She, alone, is looking directly at the camera and smiling. Her gaze seems fixed on the camera pointing at her, isolating her from the rest of the scene in a disturbing visual exchange. The other people are engaged in conversations, indifferent to my presence. I find that this is what makes the image so charming. It is because of this discrepancy and the effort it took me to capture it that I love it. This photograph is about the gaze, but not the gaze that looks, rather the gaze that demands to be looked at. The complete discussion is available via the link in the description. See you soon on Laconic.